This episode is brought to you by Valhalla Hobby. If you use code GT2305 at checkout, you'll get 5% off any order over $100 at checkout. You can find them at valhallahobby.com.
And I'm ready, so I'm going to do...
Brought to you by some guys on the internet.
This is Getting Tabled.
With your hosts, Jason the Bruce,
You guy!
George the Yang,
I hope you are all entertained by my inaptitude.
Jason aka Major Socks.
We've been doing this and talking about various stuff. One of the stuff.
Now sit back, relax, and get tabled.
Hello, future people, and welcome to episode 106 of Getting Tabled with your host, the Bruce.
Hello, folks. I'm back. Yes, I'm clean shaven. Get it all out of your system now. But we also have. He's not that he's not that much of a main man. He's just kind of here. He's been demoted because he used the wrong name. He is permanently Civvy Socks.
Money. Oh well. Hopefully.
So he doesn't even remember why he's been demoted. How dare you accidentally use the typing error instead of the name of Drop Squad Commander?
I
did have to correct you.
I know. It was my fault for using that. The name is. Yes, I am here, and above me is George. Not visiting in Wyoming at all. So, springtime. Spring has actually arrived in Wyoming.
Springtime has arrived in Wyoming, and it lasts for 3 hours.
It's about right.
Yeah, we almost had snow on Friday.
See?
Yeah, let me tell you about that. So, so we're all back. We're all here. We're doing a thing. I'm in a great mood. Just I don't know why, but I'm in a really great mood. So I might be a little obnoxious while being 100% sober.
So George is going to be normal then. That's fine. Very, very, very quickly to the couple of people that reached out, thank you. We won't be discussing much of that at this point, but we probably will touch on it at some point in the near future. We've kind of, after like Socks had his issue of burning out and he's kind of taking a bit of a rest at the moment, I've kind of been through the same thing, which I kind of talked a little bit about at the time, but don't really take my own advice very well.
No one takes their own advice.
I'm sure for it. But yeah, we are definitely going to be having a chat at some point about mental health type stuff. It won't be today, but we will be discussing it at some point very soon.
Well, mental health in regards to hobby. We are by no means professionals that should be really be taken seriously on actual mental health, but how mental health relates to hobby. Let's clarify that.
Yeah. Well, just general conversation. But
let's do this.
Newly received or noteworthy information, especially about recent or important events.
Some newsy news?
Some newsy news. And we're starting with Mantic, they've had a really big story this week. But we're going to come back to that. We're going to discuss some scenery first. Armada scenery pack. So Armada, this is for their Kings of War Armada, not for Star Wars Armada.
Totally wrong game.
We're still hoping that there's more to come for. So this is resin terrain. This is to kind of add some more life to the seas that you're fighting over. I love the Skull Island. It's just all kinds of cool. The volcano is really good too.
Let me interject real quick in inquiry. Is this same scale as like Dystopian Wars?
I would say close.
I would say close as well. The only thing I would probably say is that some of this terrain is going to look very out of place because this is very much fantasy terrain.
War Cradle Studios has their own. Yeah, War Cradle Studios actually has their own island scenery pack that you can get for Dystopian Wars,
Well,
Correct.
I was just showing you out just because Dystopian Wars is like a Victorian steampunk kind of, there's no reason why you couldn't have some fantasy showing up with steampunk since.
No, you're right too.
True. That is true.
I was just showing that as a question of like, this looks really cool. This would look really cool with some of that Dystopian War stuff. So,
A couple,
To be seeing some of the island packs.
we do apologize, folks. We're having some issues with Sox's internet connection.
it's the Florida internet is down. The squirrels got electrocuted.
Oh, he's
Okay.
back. You're back.
So,
All right.
Oh, no, he's not. He was back for a second. So he
Yeah.
might cut in and out. We do apologize for that.
so I scrolled down and went to the Seas of Dread bundle,
Yep.
which is slightly more, but that's got some great stuff in there, like the sea dragons and the narwhal.
Yes, I love that. So here's the thing with island type terrain and stuff. Now, about a year ago, I actually unboxed some 3D printed islands that I thought looked amazing. And at the time, I had kind of said, look, these would work really well for Dystopian Wars. And I still think that they would. Because you know what the thing is about island terrain? Islands are all different sizes. There really is no scale. I mean, as much as there's a scale that was listed on it, and it kind of made people go, well, that's not the right scale. It doesn't matter. It's like trees. You just have a bigger or a smaller tree.
Just to prove, like, the scale of islands, right? You could technically argue Australia is just a really freaking giant island.
True. I mean, if you want to stretch it even further, you could say that Europe and Asia is too.
I mean, yeah, the whole concept of island scale, like we get into like sea battle type stuff where there's this armada, dystopian wars, whatever. As long as it can like fit, it's fine.
Also, there is no technically. Australia is an island. It is officially the only island continent.
Technically, it's a continent, though. Therefore, it's not qualified as an island. Whereas
It
Tasmania
qualifies as
is an
both.
island. Yeah. But so, anyways,
I didn't make the rules. Anyway, I thought this was really good. The Seas of Dread, by the way, is their new expansion. I haven't had a lot of time to look at that book at this. I mean, I haven't looked at any of the expansions for the game yet, but I do love this game. It's a lot of fun.
I just went to the sea monsters.
Yep.
And just to get a better look at the narwhal and all that stuff. And there is mer type people on rocks too.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you are going to be painting the narwhal, I'm just going to say this now. It is law that you must paint it white.
Also,
It's not up for discussion. You must paint it white.
And when you're painting the narwhal, you must listen to Narwhals Are Awesome.
I'm just going to say okay because I don't know what that is.
Same.
Do you know what that is, Socks?
No.
All right, when we're done recording, everyone has to remind me to play Narwhals Are Awesome.
Socks, remember to forget that.
So
All right.
Next up from Mantic, is this the big thing you're talking about?
This is huge. So there's been a story going around for a long time. Well, not a story. There's been people are waiting for like the big companies to go, okay, fine, we're going to give into the 3D printing thing. Hands up, everybody that's surprised that Mantic is the first one to do that. No hands going up? No, that's what I thought. Mantic are creating a subscription service to give you access to the actual STLs that they sell as miniatures. So the Mantic Vault is quite literally opening the Mantic Vault. This is huge. I mean, there's been discussions pretty much since 3D printers started becoming affordable as to when the big companies would start doing this. Almost every Kickstarter that goes into wargaming gets asked this question 5 million times, to the point where it's kind of a frustrating thing at this point. The fact that Mantic are the first of the, I would argue, bigger companies to do this. I mean, they're not Games Workshop, not even close. Nobody is. But like of all of them, Mantic was deliberately started as a way of budget gaming. Now, since that time, like they've moved away from the Restic because everybody was like, we really hate Restic. So they've moved back into hard plastics now. That they do resin and stuff as well, which obviously increased cost, which moved them away from their mission goal. But it's what their community wanted, so they did it. The quality of the miniatures that they do now is absolutely phenomenal. But to try and get back to their roots, they are opening up the vault to 3D printers. So in theory, this is another thing we haven't spoken about because it's just an app and everybody has one. They actually do what the community asked. The subscription actually gives you access. Your subscription actually gives you access to all of the rules and all of the books and so on and so forth. I haven't actually got a subscription for it because I own all of the rule books that I want, but I probably should subscribe to it at some point. It's what people have argued that Warhammer Plus should have been to begin with. We made that argument actually. But there's actually a discount code that you can use this and that means pretty much for about $12, you can get access to, as this grows, pretty much everything. Now, this is brand new. It's only launching today, so obviously what's on there is limited at this stage, but this is, like, make no mistake, this is a very big deal. By signing up to the website, you can get access to 2 STLs straight off the bat. You can get one of the Basilean ships, and you can get one of the Orc ships. And you also get access to the Welcome Pack, one of which has this really cool looking dice monster that will help you keep track of what rounds you're in. The little tokens there on the ground, they are actually 3D representations of tokens from the original Dungeon Saga game. There's an upgrade pack for their giant that's also amazing. That plant monster appears to be a new creation specifically for this. It doesn't come from any existing game. Everything else that we're looking at has existed in a game here or there or somewhere. I haven't looked at the fleets. I haven't looked at the STLs myself at this point. I'm only going on what I've been told. But from what I understand, the detail on this STLs, like, there's that many triangles in this that you can scale this up to wazoo. It's ridiculous, apparently. Which you would expect because these, in theory, would be master files. The only thing I would say is I'm hoping that the people that get access to this do the right thing and don't go spreading this through Thingiverse, because I would like to see this be something that's respected. Because they could have very easily not bothered about this. Nobody had asked. I mean, there'd been none of this. It's not like this has happened because fans have gone, we demand this, although there are people that do. Nobody's ever really seriously expected that one of the big companies would. But
yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. Like, I mean, I think this is awesome. I think it's great. But I don't know how I feel about this as a business model. I mean, what would you say, $12? So in theory, roughly, that's, 140-ish that Mantic could be getting from each player annually. And, how many players are just going to be like, yeah, I'm just going to give you 140 a year and I'm going to have full-on access and I can just get whatever I want when I want it, print it when I want it. Like, I think that's really cool. But does it get to the point of, like, is Mantic going to be pushed to constantly create new content so that people want and have to keep their subscription so that they have access to the new stuff to download it when they have new stuff?
Here's the thing. I mean, you look at the top of the Mantic website and we have Dead Zone, Firefight, Kings of War, Armada, Dungeon Saga, Terrain Crate, probably. I suspect that we won't see Hellboy stuff in here. That's just a guess. I don't know that. That's already what, 6, 7 things if you include Hellboy that they can draw from. Of what they've released on day one, only one of these have been created or has not already been existed. So most of what they'll be releasing through this are things that already exist, that are actually being sold. as resin things that you can buy right now. So they have a huge back catalogue that they can draw from this, at least initially. There's been suggestions that giant plant monster might actually be a mini that never got released. It's either that or it's something they've created specifically for it. I'm tending to believe it's something that they've created specifically for it. But they probably do have stuff that was never released that they can put out through this as well. Or alternate ideas that they can further. There's a few 3D printing companies out there where they've got ideas that they want to do, but maybe it's not something that they could justify doing in resin because there may not be a large enough community for it. And so this, at least from the back of my head, I suspect there's a way that they can test ideas and stuff as well before they release them as physical products. Also, this is not replacing physical products. It's just another option for those that want it.
Right, but I'm looking at it as like it's a very easy source of revenue stream. Like they create one thing, and just sell that digital file out to hundreds of people. But in order to keep those hundreds of people subscribing to that, they're going to have to continue to release new content to keep them interested, to keep them subscribing. Otherwise, this whole venture is just going to be like
my point.
Yeah, but if they only do that for like a year and then everyone stops subscribing, well, now they've just released a whole bunch of files for a year, and now no one is subscribing to continue to fund the program. That's my thought and concern behind it.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. But yeah, my point was that like they literally have a huge vault of things that they can put out through this without creating new stuff already. And I would be very surprised if they hadn't already been planning for this months ago. Like, you don't make a decision like this and not already have a backlog that you're working on.
Sure.
Because you don't make these decisions yesterday. You make them 6 months before you announce it. But Mantic released some of the best miniatures on the market. Yeah, it's going to be very... I have not subscribed to this yet. I'm very tempted to. But I have not subscribed at this stage. Obviously, I am a fan of Mantic stuff. But until the motorbike is back on the road and stuff, I'm not doing anything like this.
Another thing to consider too, to kind of argue like, the Warhammer Plus thing. This may not be a service that's not worth subscribing to for another, 5-6 months until they have more of a catalog to select from too.
True. I don't know how they're dealing with previous month subscription stuff. My comment about the Warhammer Plus was that people were saying that that's how they should be, that Warhammer Plus should be getting access to the rules on day one as part of their subscription. Given, how many people are still arguing whether it's even worth paying for or not. You are one of the only people I've ever actually heard have positive opinions about Warhammer Plus. Most of the community have thought that it's been a giant rip-off from day one.
With the exception of the limited edition miniatures that, essentially that's what your subscription's paying for is a free miniature. So you're buying the miniature and you're getting one, you have the option to get the second one heavily discounted. That's essentially what your subscription is kind of going for. So if you're just okay with getting a couple of miniatures that, they're only making so many of, you can't go and pick it up 2 years, from now. Sure. And then occasionally, there's some cool stuff that does get released on there. I have issues with the app and the design where I constantly, whenever I go back into it,
the app and the design,
I have to re-log in. It won't retain my biometrics for login. That's part of the reason why I like to use the biometrics is so I don't have to remember half the crap.
I already have to remember. The important thing to remember about Games Workshop is that they can't build apps for the life of them.
Yeah.
That they are yet to, of the 5 or 6 apps that they've done at this point, they are yet to release one that works the way it's supposed to.
The only one that I would say really worked the way it was supposed to, that I like the way it really worked, was the original Age of Sigmar army builder / unit repository. That worked great.
I haven't touched that one, but yeah.
It's been replaced because it worked, so they replaced it with something else that's not as great.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're hating on Games... Sorry, Socks. We're hating on Games Workshop, but...
Socks, why don't you talk about what's next on the list? Because I think you're excited about this.
I am. So, you guys know...
excited about this?
It's Company Heroes 2. So, the Pledge Manager for Company Heroes 2... I know you are. Just opened up about a week ago, and a few days after the Pledge Manager came out on GameFound, they sent out an update kind of explaining how the company is going forward. As we know, Chris Gabelstrin, the owner of BCG and the creator of this game, unfortunately passed away during Eschen Spiel last November timeframe. And at that time, the company was trying to figure out what the heck was going to go on. And so they talked about possibly doing refunds to give out to the backers just in case they decided not to move forward with the project. However, that's not the case. They are planning to move forward. Like I said, the Pledge Manager is open. Goes to the 18th of June. But they just gave some more clarification in this update, just talking about shipping prices. As we know, shipping has gotten expensive all over the world. But then the VAT, they've tried to decrease as much of the VAT as European countries take during the product of buying other stuff. And so really good update. And this is a kind of an update that you expect to see from a Pledge Manager or a company, unlike we haven't seen with the company that we won't mention at all, that we've been talking about on our...
It's not that we can't mention them. I just said, let's not talk about them again until
talk about them.
Have something to talk about.
Yeah.
We nearly did, but I couldn't find it, so I... So I'm actually looking at these shipping prices, and these shipping prices they're cheap.
Yeah.
Compared to
the
what
actual shipping prices, or are these, or are these the difference that you have to pay? No, these are prices. So I just finished my pledge. That's not bad.
And after everything that I got the full veteran add-on bundle, which gave me everything that I own on my shelf that you see back there. It upgrades that up to the 2nd edition. But then I added a whole bunch of new stuff. They're also doing a terrain 4-pack, which I think is awesome. They have a 4th terrain pack that's going to be this huge bunker, like 3 or 4 or 5 hexes or something like that. And all proceeds that they get from that is going to go off to charity. So they're not getting any money from that terrain 4-pack. So I added that to my, plus a few other things. And my shipping cost overall was $65. Yeah, I know it says you 45 plus, but I can expect that with as much stuff as I'm getting.
Well,
grade my 2nd edition.
I'm reading further on down here. So like the ship, you have 2 40-pound boxes for like everything. Like this is like if you're doing like you've never gotten anything, and you're getting everything right now. That's a total of 85 pounds. So they're going to charge 120 for shipping. Holy smokes, that's cheap. 120 pounds or 85 pounds for $120.
Here's the difference between what these guys are doing and what Mythic have been doing. These guys legitimately had a death at the high end of the company. Like literally the owner died. This is not mismanagement. This is crisis situation. Like this company has survived a crisis that would have put most out of business. Like there is no exaggeration here. Mm-hmm. Most companies wouldn't survive this. But they've come through the other side, at least so far, in a fairly positive light, which is good. The difference is that the reason Mythic customers have been paying for extra shipping is because Mythic didn't do their job properly. And they dragged their feet. And it appears that they have squandered some of that money that they were supposed to be putting into the product on
all
debt.
of it.
That is the accusation that has been made. Now, I can't say that accusation is true.
Bruce, it's not an accusation.
Mythic, that is made.
Mythic came out and said there is
evidence.
No more. No, Mythic said it.
We don't have evidence that that's why. That's the problem.
Well, the Mythic has said there is no more money. That's why we have to ask for this. That's what they have said. So they have said that, everything from the pledging, the add-ons, the pledge manager, and then the shipping, they have said that's all gone. Like that's where, off topic, but that's where a lot of the hate and discontent is coming from, is they have flat out said all of this money is now gone. That's why we need more. So for this company, for Company of Heroes to go through what they've gone through, first of all, props to the founder of the company for surrounding himself with the right people and the right employees to literally worst case scenario carry on his dream and legacy after he's passed. Like, that is the absolute worst case scenario. And for them to pick it up and like reorganize, shuffle, and then keep going in the same direction with the same vision for what they're asking for is just beyond phenomenal.
And a 6-month delay in overall shipping. It was supposed to ship next month.
Yeah, 6 months.
And now they're saying
shipping has only
Christmas.
been. The fact that it's only 6 months is outstanding. Like, 6 months is a fairly standard delay. And don't get me wrong, I realize that their previous one was more or less on time, but a 6-month delay for a Kickstarter is fairly normal. They've been through a literal crisis, and they're only 6 months behind.
Yeah, our Masters of the Universe was literally 6 months behind from like one of the biggest, most prolific game manufacturers around right now, and they had a 6-month delay of it's delayed. Sorry, so these guys, holy cow!
So the nice thing about them too is a lot of so a lot of their product molds and stuff like that have already been made because they're not changing any of the miniatures in style. They're just changing. They're reprinting some of the cards and stuff like that for the game.
Yeah.
And so a lot of product development has already been made with first edition. So it's just a matter of, as we stated, I mean, just reorganizing it, trying to figure out the death crisis right before the holidays too.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. So
just to go back on the Mythic, what I was actually leading towards was, it's one thing to say, hey, we will give you a refund if you want one. But it's another one to say, for every one of those people that gets a refund, we're going to sell that at arguably a cheaper price and or with free shipping, whilst at the same time asking everybody else to pay more for their shipping. That's the difference between these two stories. And another one that we're going to talk about a little bit later, because this is not the only comparison that we're going to have today for Mythic. All of these stories just make Mythic look worse. Including, to be fair, a fairly bad one that we're going to talk about later. Because in comparison, it doesn't make them look good. All right, moving on.
Look at some cuddly bears.
Let's look at some cuddly bears. I have some very mixed opinions incoming.
Oh my goodness, they are so cuddly looking.
Yeah.
The Ewok warriors look amazing.
So yeah, Star Wars Legion Ewok warriors are coming out next month. Actually, is when they're going to be released.
Yep.
They are a mercenary style unit, as we can see with that just icon in the lower right hand part of the box on the front aspect. You're going to get 8 Ewoks because you can bring a unit of 6 and then add 2 heavy weapons or add a heavy weapon to your unit. Hence the reason why you're getting 8 miniatures at them. But they look pretty cool. Yes, I'm not in the mindset of playing Legion right now, but I know a lot of people have been excited for these.
So I'm going to say this for one of the most ridiculed species in the movies. These minis just still look amazing, though.
Yeah, these minis look amazing. The other half of this coin, you also get the, I want to say Logray and Wicket.
Yep.
And I just want to point out this. This was pointed out in the On Tabletop video when they were talking about this. But so that first box comes with 8 miniatures and is $40, right? Look at the price of the other one for 2 miniatures. It's $30. I am sorry. I am a fan of this company, but this is offensively expensive. This is stupidly expensive. And it's not the worst example of it that we're talking about today.
Well, Bruce, it's just like a Games Workshop,
I would be pissed
right?
if I was buying this.
How much?
I'd argue that this price is worse than Games Workshop.
Well, no, look at it this way, right? So your tax squad, right? 5 Marines, $60, right? That's what it is now, right? Your captain,
Probably.
lieutenant, whatever. That's your single sprue miniature. That's $30.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yep, good point.
This is the same difference. These are your named character heroes. 2 of them for $30. Then you got your squad of 8 for $40. It's
Yeah,
no
but here's the
different
problem
than
with that. The quality of these miniatures don't hold up against the Games Workshop ones. And they're not trying to. And don't get me wrong, like, Legion miniatures aren't bad, but you can't compare these to Games Workshop miniatures. Like,
yeah,
there's
but you're
no
also
way.
talking about a fan base that is probably one of the most abusive towards any other intellectual fandom because it's inferior to theirs. So they're not going to give two craps about the quality of the miniatures when they feel that their intellectual property is superior and craps on whatever you're a fan of. They're not going to care.
Even if that fandom doesn't understand its own mythos half the time.
Exactly.
Yeah. I do know some people aren't happy with the scope for Wicket. Wicket is the one on the right, on the front part of that box. They would like it more like the movies.
It does look very generic.
For a hero.
He's just doing this.
Yeah. For a hero pose.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of people aren't too happy with Wicket from what and I'm not too happy. I mean, if I were to get these, I would want him more like what you see in the movies or whatnot. So, but anyways, moving on.
Yeah.
We've got the ATST. We've got a new
$40 compared to $30.
30
between those two. That's just disgusting. Yes, we also have the new ATST.
Chicken Walker. Chicken.
Yeah. So no, I will not buy a new one. I already have 2.
Is this a new sculpt or not? I don't think it is.
No, it's not a new sculpt, but it gives you the option to put Chewie or General Weiss in there as pilots.
Okay, so it is just
That's the only difference. That's the only difference.
Really?
It's not a new sculpt at all. No.
So you're pre-ordering just have a look.
They never said that it was a new sculpt. Or the captain. They had never actually said that this was a new sculpt. I was just curious if there was any more differences.
It's going to give you the Chewie Commander ATST card, so that's what you're going to get in the box too. So if you're going to bring this as an Ewok unit, you're going to need to buy this box or print it off.
Oh, for crying out loud!
Oh no, George, that is not the part that you hate. I'm going to give you the part that you hate. Here you go. And buying this box is the only way to get that card because we're back in X-Wing First Edition again.
Yep. There will be third parties that will probably take this picture that we see here on the back of the box and print their own cards.
Or they'll just buy one copy of the box and then scan it.
Yeah.
Not that I'm telling you to do that. Look, to be fair, if you haven't already brought this, I believe it's the same price as the old one, right?
Yeah.
So it's better value than the original. If you already own multiples of this, then
I think
obviously you're going to be pissed.
I think this is going to replace the old one eventually because why have two?
Oh, it will. There's
boxes?
no point having both of them on the SKU.
Because the old one was made by Fantasy Flight Games and this is AMG now. So they'll eventually just run out their stock that they have of the old ATSTs and replace them with these ones over time.
If they haven't already. Let's be
Correct.
fair, Legion is not something that shelf warms. But they need to be careful. Like, Atomic Mass Games need to be careful with decisions like this is not the worst of the stories from AMG today. We've already had one that was worse than this. This is it's an updated box, essentially. But like I said, if you already have this and you want that card, you're going to be pissed.
Or 2 of them.
Or 2 of them, yeah. In saying that, I mean, you're not wanting to play with the Ewoks, I don't think. If
They're-
ignoring your current mindset, were you going to go in that direction?
Possibly because you can bring these into Rebels, and I like to play Rebels too, but I'm mostly playing Empire right
Okay.
now. So, can I bring Ewoks
Fair
in
enough.
Empire? No.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Speaking of
moving on
Empire,
then.
Yes. And Shatterpoint.
Yeah.
We
So
have
in
the
Shatterpoint,
Inquisitors.
we've got a new box set that's come. Yep, the Jedi Hunters. First things first, I love the fact that they've gone for the Obi-Wan Kenobi looks for them.
Yes.
These guys look amazing, although that was inspired by the cartoon, from what I understand anyway, looks-wise. But like they are, like you can see the actors in those sculpts, which is
Oh, yeah.
good.
that was probably my
Um,
favorite part about the Obi-Wan series was the Inquisitors, because it was like, the actual, like, we've got the 2 Sith, sure, but we're going to have more Sith hunting the Jedi so that we have the power in the galaxy. Like,
Yeah.
Couple of optional heads in there too, which is nice. Between the brothers.
also, the
One that's more
lightsabers,
accurate to the
absolutely
cartoon.
ridiculous, too.
Yeah, I love the way they've sculpted those lightsabers, and
Yeah. When on Tabletop we're talking about this, Jerry's opinion, and Jerry, if you come across this, feel free to taunt me in the comments. But his comment on the show was that it was bad for Poodoo, and I'm sorry, but you're wrong. Obi-Wan Kenobi was a great show. It was really good. I wouldn't say it's as good as The Mandalorian is, but it's still really worth watching, I felt.
So the next thing I'm going to point out, so for miniatures in this box, $50, at that 40 mil scale, like they're doing a really good job of
Better
making
value.
Shatterpoint seem like a really good value.
a lot of Legion
Yeah.
players. I wouldn't say a lot. There's a good chunk of Legion players looking forward to Shatterpoint.
Third quarter,
Yeah, maybe close.
There
maybe
will be a
above
lot
that
of those
a little
that will
bit.
probably buy both.
yeah.
Out of the 6 players that I know locally at my store that play primarily in our store, there are 3 people getting into Shatterpoint, so 50% of us.
There's at least 4 people in our group that's wanting to go. I'm still fighting the temptation at this stage. The fact that I want the bike to be fixed before I go into anything new definitely helps. But the
Understandable.
fact that I can sit here and tell you, I could tell you exactly what I'm buying the moment that I do. And I can pretty much tell you this without question. At this particular point, if I was to buy, I would not be buying the core set, which is a stupid decision on my part, but I wouldn't be buying it. I would be buying the Count Dooku set
Mhm.
and the General Grievous set. That is what I would buy, and that would be where I would stop at this
Your
particular
squads.
point in time.
Yeah.
Just because they're the ones that interest me. I probably would buy the core set eventually because I would want the other droids from it.
Yeah, and you'll want Ventress. Ventress is in the.
It's also got the cards, and you can't get the cards outside of the box, which is the annoying part, but it is what it is. Anyway, really good value, you say, George?
Well, I mean, the whole concept of like, you're paying what, $12 a mini for a 40 mil scale.
I think that's Bruce's lead.
Oh, I'm leading towards something. Prepare to be disappointed, George.
Oh no, I've already pulled it up and looking at it, and it is not a good value. It is the exact opposite of a great value. It is a flat out like shin kick to the junk.
You're getting a chunk of resin as a diorama set.
Now, before we yes, and I'm not arguing that at all because my opinion is well down that road. But let's start with the positive side of this. This is essentially the equivalent of that Wolverine versus Sabretooth box that we got, or the Spider-Man versus Dr. Octopus box that we got. It's a diorama set that just happens to include minis. Now, in theory, there are people out there that really like sets like this because it's something different. And it's kind of in line-ish with what those prices are. But here's the problem with this one in particular.
But Bruce, you also have to stop too. there's also that segment of the hobby where they don't actually, buy the minis to play the game. They buy the minis to paint them because that's what they like doing. So this,
that's what I was talking about. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. This would really appeal to that much smaller part of the community. But yeah.
Here's the problem with this: the Wolverine set, like, you could have pulled that apart and it became more scenery for your games, right? Not so much with the Spider-Man one. This one, like, this is a giant piece. Like,
you would have to build a modular table.
90% of what comes in this box is completely useless without ruining it. You would have to saw bits off in order to be able to use this outside of the diorama.
Or build a table where you could set this inside of it. Lay this down and have it flush.
Which is nigh on impossible. Do you know how exact that table would have to be for that to work?
Insane.
It's a really nice idea. I really like the idea they keep on going to with this. But they're going so far in one direction that it doesn't work for everybody else.
No, I will say
this. And these
this
are the only...
This Ben Kenobi is absolutely amazing looking, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know, and it only makes it worse. I love the Darth Vader, too.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Vader's cool and everything, but Vader's just like... there's been so many better, like, Sith villains to come about. Like, Sidious. Like, so much better than Vader, in my opinion. But Kenobi has been like a rock, like, ever since, like, the trilogy we don't acknowledge. And
this isn't his typical pose, too.
Yeah,
he says hello there. Where he got his hand out. This is a totally different pose than what we see in Legion. So I agree. Yeah. This is a great pose.
Yeah. I really like the miniatures in this. Like, it's like, part of me really wants to like these diorama sets because the idea behind it is a good one. I don't think they're executing it properly, though. And like, for those people that really enjoy the dioramas, I mean, great. But I think at very minimum, the pieces that make up the diorama need to be able to come apart to be used as scenery.
Or
minimum.
Or that price goes down $20 to $25.
Yeah. It's hard to have this box in particular is the worst of the three. Like the Wolverine versus Sabretooth Tiger, Sabretooth one, still had people that were up in arms about it, but that's probably the best of them they've done so far, because everything that was on that was modular and it worked, and like you didn't have to glue it down. Like the motorbike in particular could be used off that. Like this, you would literally have to saw this apart to be able to use it. The Spider-Man one, not so much, and that was the first one, so it was kind of like, okay, yeah, but this kind of feels like it's gone back to the Spider-Man one, but worse.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe if they was to make the base of the diorama flat, so that it didn't have the bits jutting up from the side, which I know would kind of ruin the diorama aspect of it, but at least that way it could just be terrain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For those that want to use it that way. I don't know if this has alternate bits for the floor on this one like the other ones did either. Because the other thing, the thing about the other two is that you had replacement bases that could take the minis out of, so that it was still a diorama when they weren't there. Unless I'm misremembering that. This one doesn't have that. Or if they do, it's not shown on the box. or in the
No.
pictures.
Yeah, but on the what or
Losing you
cards.
Got that image of him right now, though.
Good, maybe.
Oh, there we go. He's back. What were you trying to say, Socks?
Looking at the description on what came in the box, and then don't look anything up. So
He's gone again. Yeah, so yeah, one terrain feature display, 2 unit cards, 2 stance cards, and 2 order cards. So look, it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. Unfortunately, I think people will still buy it because the community are nothing if not predictable.
Absolutely, it's going to buy it. Just because, one, it's Vader, because there's people who are like, oh my god, Vader, I have to all the Vaders, Vader. 2, I will take all the hate for this opinion, okay? Like, you can...
you're more than welcome to take the hate for this opinion. Darth Vader is... You do not speak bad about the most epic
no.
movie history.
No, I'm going to say something even more blasphemous. I think Obi-Wan has surpassed Luke as far as the epitome of the heroic character in the Star Wars universe. And I'll fight you on that.
I don't know if that's as controversial as you think it is.
Find me a fanboy that mouth breathes and has a neck beard, and we'll see.
I don't know. Socks. Let's talk about some positive stuff. We got some Dystopian Wars.
maybe.
No, he did it.
Yeah, I do.
No. We have some That's right. Socks can't talk because he's breaking in and out. So we did speak about some of these last episode. Try again, Socks.
Am I good?
Oh, hey.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
So yeah, we have the Alexiev battle fleet for the Commonwealth. I know we spoke on these, but this one comes out here in the 2 weeks from today. So
I love the giant the flying transport thing. That is
skimming
really cool.
Yeah. So looking forward to this, and then they got the various carriers and other skimmer units. I love the ones with the big huge drill, the Irkutsk class. Don't let that thing nearby, or you're just gonna get a big hole burrowed through your ship.
Well, I was gonna say that's for punching holes in dirigibles, since it's a flyer.
Actually, it can go on surface as well as air, so it can go either or. With it being a skimmer.
Oh, so it's literally the ultimate kamikaze. You just like nose drop it down in the middle of a ship. There you go. Yeah. Dude, that carrier though, I just pulled up the large image of that. That looks so good.
Yeah, I love that. It's like the Dystopian Wars version of the helicarrier from the MCU.
Well,
but
I was thinking
there's other ships
actually
that would fit
no
that category too.
That would be the Avalon. You need to check out the Avalon from the Crown. We'll look at that later.
This is more like the Russian transport that was made during the Cold War. That it only flies 3 feet above the water, and its wings are super stubby, but it can go like 300 miles an hour over the water. It's just that's what this is reminding me of. Sox knows what I'm talking about.
Worked the way it was intended about?
Yeah, they actually work.
Wow.
Yeah.
I need to look this thing up. Moving on.
The next one, Japanese sports. This one also comes out pre-order around the 20th, so 2 weeks from.
I want it. It launches
these
squids.
Like kind of cool. So it has squid as tokens. The Rin Ixobs.
I'm gonna take over because Sox is breaking in and out again. So yeah, this is a support for the Japanese, and I'm losing my mind over what looks like squid launches. Because those squids that you see down there in the bottom of the image are very much among my favorite miniatures. Like, some of the most simple miniatures in the game, but they are among my favorite miniatures that the game ever has done. Now, I could be wrong, but it looks to me like they are supposed to be launching from that.
Yeah, see, I think Socks and I talked about those last episode when you were gone. That looks like it's more of like grabby stuff for the ship to grab onto another ship and like for boarding purposes.
It could be that. Socks is back.
Look at this more. Yeah, that's for those larger ships that are supposed to rip apart ships in the salt.
And he's gone again.
Socks, you're not gonna talk this episode apparently.
Every time you seem like you're fine, you break again. Sorry. I really like the Japanese fleet. That's the one that I gave away. That was given to us for an unboxing by On Tabletop, and I actually gave that away to one of our Patreon members, who let us unbox his starter fleet.
So I'm going to throw this out, Bruce. So you're talking about the ones where it looks like it's launching the tentacles, and I think they're used for boarding purposes. If you look for the Umbozo class, it's got like a drill head on it for like drilling into a ship. So I think it's like, that one holds it still. This one drills into it kind of concept, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
You see what I'm talking?
Makes sense. I went past it earlier. It was a giant drill, but yeah, I know the one you're talking about. It was on the previous one somewhere. There it is. We also have the magenta Battlefleet set.
That's not magenta.
Giant flight.
If I had this fleet, I'd paint it magenta.
It's a giant air fleet carrier that flies.
That looks so
like
good.
I was saying earlier. Yeah, I know. The submarine looks really nice too. It reminds me of the Nautilus, the submarine, which I'm sure is not accidental.
Are you talking like the Sean Connery League Nautilus?
I am actually, yes.
Okay.
Or at least what it was based on.
Yeah, this screams a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yep. And yes, I am very much aware of what most people think about that movie. I'm not going to disagree with you, quite frankly. It did have some... It did have some promise. If it didn't have good parts, it wouldn't be so disappointing. And the aesthetics of that movie are phenomenal.
Oh my god! The aesthetics were
disagree with it.
Like the way it looked and like what they attempted to do. I still thought it was a great movie. So if you don't like it, yes, it is.
No, go back and rewatch it. It's not a good movie. It has some good moments, but it's not good.
It's better than some other movies I've seen.
To be fair, Twilight is terrible. Yes.
I'm not even talking about
I really like this.
No, this fleet looks great.
Yeah. Finally, we have the Cyclone of Shadow. This is a campaign set, so this is all... This is essentially very similar to the one we looked at for Armada, except this is a full-on campaign set with a campaign setting.
Oh, those rigs look so amazing.
These platforms. Yeah.
Each
the islands
in their own platform.
Mm.
Oh my goodness.
It's really, really nice. You are still breaking up, Socks, but that came through enough to understand what you said. Just. And it was just. I like the fact that they're doing, like, you need terrain for games like this, you do, but the fact that they're doing it with a campaign setting adds to the game as well. And look, to be fair, like with any game that has a competitive aspect, people are always asking for new missions, so it's an easy way to get them out. And the miniatures are gorgeous.
Yeah, I just pulled up the Avalon that Socks was saying actually looks like the Shield helicarrier. And yeah, the Avalon class Skyfortress, it does look like a Shield helicarrier.
It's in our Facebook chat.
Thank you. I will have a look at it in a second. I just want to say every one of these islands look like they're an evil lair from some superhero
James Bond
villain. Yeah.
So look at their island.
Oh, you're not
island
wrong.
set.
The Avalon is literally right out of Marvel.
Right.
That's what he was talking about, folks, and he's not wrong. Sorry, Socks, what was the last thing that you were saying?
Facebook chat. Here's the island set that they do.
Oh, these are painted really nice. I've actually seen these before. Yeah, these are good.
But going back to George's earlier question about does Dystopian have stuff like this? Yes, they do.
Well, I mean, it'd be dumb not to. I mean, this is like the easiest thing to like, island terrain. Make a little squidgely blump.
Pretty much, yeah. Oh, they are really nice too. Resin Islands, nice. All right, moving on. TT Combat released a whole new set of terrain this weekend. So this is the Mod Co-N. I'm just going to call it ModCon because I'm sorry, it's easy to say. So it's a giant terrain system. It kind of feels very Necromunda, very Kill Team, although they do have other sets that are like that way inclined as well. I quite like this. It's a simple.
It feels very Drop Squad Commander.
It will work very well for that. I suspect that this is actually being aimed at the border. What's the new one called? Where you're like boarding actions or whatever it's called.
Space Hulk? No, not Space Hulk.
No, there's a new 40k mission thing where it's boarding actions, and it's what the Combat Patrol thing is being based on. That's what it feels like it's aiming at for me, but I could be wrong on that because I'm not huge into the 40k scene. But I know that we did cover it at some point a few months ago. I really like this stuff, honestly. I think it looks really nice. There's not a lot to this. It's a modular terrain set that works for anything sci-fi, honestly.
Not even just sci-fi. I just say like, even like current modern, so to speak.
Actually, that's the point. I mean, you could have like an old underground military bunker type thing, yeah?
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Something Russian specifically would fit, I think.
Oh, this could totally be an Area 51 too. You can't tell me Area 51 doesn't have corridors like that. Socks, you could tell us, right?
No, of course not. He could, but then he'd have to kill us because he's not allowed to talk about the aliens.
True.
His name's Paul, and he's a nice guy.
He is a nice guy. I love that movie. All right, moving on. We have a new miniature coming out for Conquest. Hey, if you like Conquest and you want to buy stuff from their store, use the code getting tabled, and you will get 10% off and help support us as well. This is part of their Artisan series, so these are the El Fancy models. Oh my lord, this is pretty.
I'm still looking at the first picture that comes up, just looking at the model itself, and there's so much going on that. What is that coming out of his head? And then he's got part of a turret for a shoulder pad. And is that a tree? Is this guy a giant? What the heck is going on here? And oh my god, look at his toenails. It is a giant,
yes.
Look at his toenails. His toenails are out of control, for crying out loud.
Yes, this is a giant, yes. Hence Jotnar. This is just scary good. It's so gross in the best ways. I love the fact that he looks like he's been asleep because he has moss growing on his head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want to say it's a gravestone that's on top of his head.
That was my guess.
No, that's part of the castle
show
turret.
A close-up of it. You reckon? So he's been sleeping under the ground and broken out of the earth, obviously. Hence the rocks and so forth. I
Looking at the
really
backside-
like this.
Get the title.
Socks is checking out his backside.
Of course he would.
What was that? Sorry, Socks, you broke up.
The head, the thing on his head looks like a tree trunk.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it is. Yep. So he's... Yeah, so Mountain Jotnar, this is literally taken from Myth then. It's literally like the mountains are monsters that are coming to get us. That makes sense.
That is so cool.
I really like this. Like I saw it and I'm like, oh, that's so pretty.
That price is I mean, let's see. Okay, so box size is 30 by 30 by 6 centimeters.
This thing is huge. That
38
price is
mil.
quite reasonable.
So 16.5 centimeters. So that's 8 inches tall. Did I math that right?
Tape measure. 16.5 centimeters. It's the better part of 7 inches, roughly. It's about 6.5 inches. It's about that.
6.5 inches.
Yeah.
So,
but it's also like it's not just tall; it's wide. This is huge, and it's all fine resin.
yeah, I
You
was
could
gonna say
kill
that's
somebody with this.
like physically actually kill. Yeah, so I suppose that's about a right price because that's about the same price as an Imperial Knight for GW, which those are about 130 now. So yeah.
This is designed essentially as an art piece more so than a game piece. You can use it for a game piece by all means, but if that's what you decide to do, I would be very careful with it. Moving on, before we get to the before we get to the sad story, we've had a little bit of a preview of Combat Patrol. So Combat Patrol is arguably, I think, what is getting most of the 10th edition attention, honestly. It's probably the only thing that's really caught my attention, if I'm being honest. Doesn't mean I'm buying it, but like, it is the only thing that's really piqued my interest, which is basically making a game out of the Combat Patrol boxes. Now, obviously, there's going to be some insane balancing that's going to have to go ahead there, but it is going to be a game of its own. Combat Patrol back in the day was just what they used to call a 500-point game, but... Sorry, George?
I was going to say, like, this concept right here is something Games Workshop has needed to do for the last decade.
Yep. I mean, communities have tried to do this a number of times. It never really works with their rule sets, though, because Games Workshop aren't very good at writing rule sets.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm going to say it because it's true. They're not very good at it. It's a real shame that they have a 75% market share because there's so much of their audience that's never looked outside of it.
Yeah. But yeah, the whole concept of, you go and buy a Combat Patrol box, you put it together, you paint it, and like have it be a balanced point comparison to someone else's Combat Patrol box. And then you both take your Combat Patrol boxes and put them on the table and go smashy, smashy, and then it's an actual game.
As opposed to in the previous editions, if you did that, then, I mean, you could do it, but 9 times out of 10, it would be a very one-sided fight. And look, hey, that's fine. If all you're doing is learning how to play a game, it's not a bad thing. It doesn't really work for a game, though. As a learning mechanic, sure, there's actually nothing wrong with that. But for a game, it's not good. There's a lot of people out in the community that's like, what do we know about this? And, like, do we know how the game is going to work? The answer to that is no, because until the rule set is out, nobody really knows anything.
Yeah.
Like, there's people out there trying to gauge what is going to be competitive and stuff. And honestly, my advice is, until the rule set comes out, stop trying to have those conversations because you're setting yourself up for failure. Don't try to judge what is competitive. No, I mean failure. I use that on purpose.
Oh,
don't try to judge what's going to be competitive without a rule set to go on because
absolutely.
you're not going to figure it out. You might get lucky, but the chance of getting lucky is extremely thin. Either buy what you like the look of and decide that you're going to build around that, or wait.
I can tell you,
if you want to be smart.
There's one for certain that I see is missing from all these images.
Yeah.
No, yeah, just one that I can see for sure. Custodes.
That is not really surprising me, honestly, because that is worth more points-wise. It's going to be interesting to see how they balance this. Like, we don't know the answer to this question yet, but like the Custodes box in particular is like that is an army essentially. Like,
that's why I got that
massive
Custodes
point
box
stuff.
because that one box is a massive army.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, like this is the only part of 10th edition that's really catching my eye at this stage. I'm not saying I will never buy anything from it, but it's not what I'm not buying into 40k. But
here's the next part I really like. And I think this is a sign of Games Workshop is really starting to understand like what people can and can't do. The playing surface is 44 by 30 inches, which they say is 2 kill team boards put together. Like, remember back in the day where you played on a 4-foot by 6-foot? No one had a 4-foot by 6-foot. You had to go somewhere that had a 4-foot by 6-foot, or you had to do some sort of scaled down thing. Thank you, Socks.
Well,
or what was it? Was it 9th edition? They changed the size where it's like they shrank it down slightly so that it was more, it wasn't as big. To do something like this where it's like you get 2 combat patrol boxes, you need a 44 by 30 game area, and you can play games. What?
They shrunk the board size in 9th edition. Sure, yeah, that is true. The amount they shrunk it by didn't help that problem. The only thing it did was convince a whole heap of people that they had to buy new gaming mats.
No, it did help because that table that I've got behind me right now that I'm set up on is already the exact length I need. It's just not wide enough. For the 4-foot by 6-foot, I'd have to extend out each wing as well as the width, which then, makes it more difficult with the frame that I have for it. Shrinking it down.
The reason I'm laughing is that this has nothing to do with why they did it.
I don't care I don't care if it's why they did it or not. I say it's better for the game because it does make it space-wise more accessible for people at home. I don't have room for a 4-foot by 6-foot in my house.
Oh,
but the other one,
I agree with you on this. This is a much better size for gaming, 100%. But on the full size 40k table, no, that doesn't actually help that much. I don't feel.
I disagree. The 4-foot by 6-foot I don't have room for. It's an odd size. The table I've got behind me, like I can modify easily to do the new size. This still is even better, and I think in a future going forward where yes, people are still going to get together and play games, but they're not going to do it at stores. I think this is still moving in the right direction. This is easier to put on a dining room table or a large coffee table or something like that. I think they're getting the idea of bigger's not better.
I think there's a reason why Armada has been dead for more than an edition too. Unless I don't believe that there wasn't an Armada for 9th. I could be wrong. So not Armada, Armageddon. I think last time we saw it was for 8th. I think.
I don't know if there's ever been yes, there's been some hard, fast set rules for Armageddon games, but I don't know if most of the time too, when the community or a group wants to do something like that, they're just going to do it regardless if there's a rule set.
True. I still have the same opinion of Armageddon that I had the last time it was mentioned, which is that I've never had fun playing Armageddon at all, and I hate everything to do with it. It's not fun. It's just more boring than a game of 40k. It just means more, and more isn't always better.
Yeah, the only good thing I'll say about it is if you have a good community that you're a member of, and it's all players that you like and enjoy playing with, doing something like that is fun for the fact of you're all together hanging out, playing a game together. That's the only redeeming quality I'll give it.
It's an idea that can work for things like, not so much UK Games Expo, but Salute and stuff like that, where it's a big community event or something like that, or a big, even at PAX or something, as a way to demo a game. But as a regular thing, I just don't think it works.
No, absolutely not.
But we need to eventually move on to the sad story. And the sad story is that a company has failed and is closing down. So, Grim Dynasty. People are going to look at this and go, well, how is this any different? And we will get into that. So, when an update comes that is called a statement from Grimlord Games, you pretty much know where this is leading. You don't even need to read anything to know where this is going. It's going to be a bad story. It's with heavy hearts we come to you today with deeply sad news that we've come to the end of the line. After 8 years of making games, Grimlord Games has entered into insolvency and immediately ceasing all activities. This pretty much has meant the death of Grim Dynasty before it got out. So there is a lot of people out there that's going to be very upset by this right now. And it's hard not to feel for those people. This is one of the risks with crowdfunding. And it's something that I continually try to remind people with the whole Mythic thing as well. Because if they go under, people don't have a recourse because bankruptcy is bankruptcy. People keep on trying to argue that, and I know it's taken a while for me to get that message through to you, George.
No, that's not my issue. That's
no, I know. I know.
If there's bankruptcy, it's bankruptcy. Period. Yeah.
According to Mythic, they're not at risk of that, which only makes their story worse. But anyway, this is always hard. I'm going to say the same thing again, which is that I'm still surprised we didn't have more of this over the pandemic. Like more businesses going under. Like seriously, we should have had a lot more than we did. Not that I want more, but like the pandemic really should have killed a lot of this industry, and it didn't.
Right, yeah. So the one thing I'm trying to find it here. There's a company, it's FRP Advisory, is taking over. They're essentially now the liquidators for the company, Grimlord Games. And they've set up a specific email address, grimlord@frpadvisory.com, for anything involving this insolvency process. And what this process is, they're going to try to recoup as much funds as possible to then, for the backers who have gone in and supported for the development and creation of this game, whatever funds are generated from selling off assets are going to go back to backers for whatever amount they can. Not the full amount.
Because it's,
from a it's
legal point of view, it is considered a debt. Which technically does help for Mythic as well, but you can only refund what you have, and apparently Mythic have no money because they've
Grimlord Games.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Oh,
I was offering a point of comparison. There's a big difference here between what Mythic is going through and what these guys are going through. The biggest one being these guys are being honest from day one.
Yeah.
These guys have come out and said, look, this is the situation we're in. And they've just laid it all out. Not that this is like 3 pages worth of stuff, but half of the problem with half of those Mythic updates is that they hide half of their truths amongst so much bullshit that you can't find it.
So the other thing too,
this is just a statement.
Yeah. The other thing too with this that we completely did skip over is they did attempt, reaching out to another company that, larger, more stable, more resources of, would you like to buy us to keep us going? Which, that's a huge thing too. If you go talk to Dave Lewis, he essentially had to do the same thing with Hawk War Games. he was fortunate, was able to talk with Louis at TT Combat, merge those together, and continue those games. You know, Grimlore Games tried this twice, and they've not named the companies they were talking to, which I think is also really, you know, good on them for not, like, you know, saying this company let us fail, this company also let us fail. No, they said we tried, it failed. We're at this point. We're sorry. Like, this is actual honest to God honesty, and I can appreciate them. Hopefully their backers can, you know, appreciate the honesty behind this too. I'm sure there's the handful that are gonna be like, oh, this is, you know, crap. Well, I lost a bunch of money, whatever.
Look, there's going to be people upset by this, and they have every right to be upset by this, so long as they're upset for the right reasons. Like, this is not a company that's tried to throw another company under the bus for problems that they created. Hey, a certain company in the US, and you know who you are. Are you listening about how you're supposed to be doing business instead of lying to your backers about it? Yes, I said US. I'm not talking about Mythic. I'm talking about somebody else. Our backers should know. No, our Patreon should know who I'm referring to, given that I was literally abused by the bastard.
Well, I think too, you know, as much as, you know, things have been talked about, I think a general listener should be able to have a good idea too. But yeah, this is
Secret Weapon is who I'm talking about.
So
he can get stuffed. Yeah, Secret Weapon is what I'm talking about.
We all have elephants in the room. I have Mythic, you have Secret Weapon. Sox is kind of AMG, you know, elephant in the room. So
I have been very quiet about my elephant, thank you very much. Part of that is because in theory we were supposed to discuss it with Louis when he came on, but then unfortunately it's never happened. It was happening, and then it all kind of didn't happen.
So, this is unfortunate for...
big time.
But, you know, and these things do happen, so...
They do. And they happen all the time. Like, businesses go out of business all the time. The thing is that most of the time, unless you're a fan of that company, you don't notice.
Right.
Because, like, as much as, like, we've tried to cover them, I'm sure that there's tabletop companies that's gone out of business that we've missed. I mean, we can't cover the entire industry. I still will be very surprised if Mythic make it out of this year. I will be very surprised if they do. I kind of hinted at a point of difference, and that is essentially it. This company has just come out with a statement saying, like, this is the situation that we're in, as opposed to Mythic where, and then correct me if I'm wrong on this, George, because you're the one that's following this for obvious reasons. Every announcement Mythic have had has basically been a giant crypto puzzle of information hidden amongst crap. And then most of that crap has been borderline true and borderline fictional. Like the war on Ukraine is somehow affecting prices in France. Which would be true for some things, but not in the extent that they've... Like, it would have an impact, but it's not the reason that they've lost all of their money.
Well, so since this is a very related topic, their most recent update, where they've asked for more money for Siege 6, the next game they're trying to get produced, they need 30% of the backers to contribute extra funds to get the game made, because all the money raised in the Kickstarter campaign is, in theory, gone now, per Mythic. They've said all that money is gone. All the money that they collected in the Pledge Manager for add-ons and the shipping and everything is gone. That's why they need extra shipping contributions now too, because what money they collected for shipping is now also gone. Because, like I said on the Company of Heroes Pledge Manager, the shipping is cheap. Mythic is collecting additional shipping charges again, so you're paying for shipping twice because what they've collected is gone. They've said that
they've put that funds elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. And they said that, you know, they're still doing refunds. So why are you asking for money if you still have money that you're still supposedly doing refunds with? But then they also said if too many people ask for refunds, they're going to have to stop because it's going to stop operations. So what money is where, what money from what campaigns is still there, what money is gone, what money, there's so many things that they will not come out and say. And then just, simple promises too. They said at the beginning of the year, we're going to update every campaign once a month. Anastair, is that how you pronounce it? Whatever. Hasn't had an update since they said they're going to update once a month.
Speaking of, GameFound have shut all of their projects down to make sure that they can't take any more money from them.
Mm-hmm. Which, and then
made this announcement yesterday.
Yeah, and then there was another, and this was a message from GameFound to a backer. And I read this on the GameFound site, and I can't remember where it was, but GameFound essentially told this backer that same thing. The backer replied, and this is a truth as well. So, Rise of the Necromancer was done on GameFound, not Kickstarter. Why? Because Mythic Games had 6 active campaigns on Kickstarter and was prohibited from launching a 7th campaign on Kickstarter. So, Mythic Games did the campaign directly on GameFound, which is fine because it's a crowdfunding platform specifically for games and gaming related things. Here's the next caveat though. GameFound did not realize that Mythic was running their own pledge manager on their own website for collecting funds. Which
there's a few problems here. There's also been a large number of times where the excuses that they used have been typical, and I'm just going to say it, scammer excuses. There's a whole series called Kick Scammer. Mythic are not featured on there. I wouldn't be surprised if they get featured on there at some point within the next couple of years, where they just cover people that have scammed through crowdfunding websites. Whether it be this, whether it be the GoFundMe, whether it be... I haven't seen one come from GameFound yet. What's the other one? There's another popular one where you don't have to actually prove that you've got a product. And it's where
Indiegogo?
Tech scams happen. Indiegogo, thank you. That's where all the tech scamming happens. A lot of the excuses, and to be fair, there is a chance that they have been honest, and it just looks like they're not being honest. I don't think that's the case, but I'm just acknowledging it's a possibility. But so much of what they have said has been stuff that could have come from there at this point, that there's so much writing on that wall. There was a, I can't think who it was. I don't think it was New York Times. There was a financial review company that did an interview with them recently, where they asked what the chance was that Mythic Games were going out of business. And Mythic Games' answer was that there is no risk of them going bankrupt. So if they need all of this money to stay in business, why is there no risk of them going bankrupt at this point?
Exactly.
I'm
that's
going
a question.
from my memory on this, but
yeah, if there's no risk of them going bankrupt, why do they need 30% of the Siege 6 backers to make the additional contribution to get the game manufactured?
The last time we talked about Mythic, I made a big point of that we wasn't going to discuss this again until there was something else to discuss. And I'm the one that brought this up because it was so relevant to what we were discussing. One of the things I kept on saying back in our original things was, yes, all of that money is gone because it's been spent on production, which is the way it's supposed to work. That money is spent before they have it. But here's the problem. None of these games have started production yet. With the exception of Darkest Dungeon has been produced and they held it hostage. None of the rest of them have been.
And there's a change to that now too, Bruce. Wave 2, they're getting ready to do Wave 2. If you contributed for Wave 1, you're good for Wave 2. If you're waiting for only Wave 2 stuff, which is alternate languages, you still need to contribute now.
I do know somebody here locally that actually did contribute the extra to get it and did receive it. Darkest Dungeon, this is. Because he wanted his stuff, basically. So he paid the extra. If if you have stuff that's outstanding from Mythic, it's up to you whether you want to do that or not. Generally speaking, my advice would be not to give any funds if nothing has been produced. Because at this point, I don't think there's a big chance that you're going to get any of that money back.
Yeah. So,
for those living in the US, I know that there are people trying to set up legal fights for this. But the problem is that if they go under, you can't get money that isn't there.
So there's a couple things in this group that I've been looking into. They're actually located in France. So they're in France, and the other thing too is I linked to some paperwork, and I couldn't read it because, well, it's in French, and it's difficult to go through. Yeah, but it sounds like earlier this year, reorganization paperwork is done so that it's changed how Mythic Games has actually been organized and how it's owned. So there's some legal questions there. Now here's the next part of this, right? So let's say Mythic does get 30% and the game does go into production and manufacture. That means they've created it, right? Part of the Kickstarter term says if they have created it, they have to deliver it.
Yeah.
Once the crowdfunding campaign is done. So the crowdfunding campaign is done. The game gets manufactured. Mythic says if you don't contribute, you're not getting it. But in the Kickstarter terms, it says that after the campaign has been successfully completed, if it has been produced, the creator has to send it to you. So what's Mythic going to do to address that? Because if there's 40% of the people that don't contribute, they do have legal recourse then, because the terms say they need to get their product then.
Yeah. We do need to move on, but there is one last thing I want to touch on, given that we're talking about this, which is also the fact that they also recently said that if the refund requests continue, they are going to stop allowing them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, from what I understand, France, like Australia, has a legal requirement where you are required to provide a refund when asked.
It's a EU thing, but yes. So
it's an EU thing. Yep.
Yep.
That only covers people within the EU, as far as I understand. And from an Australian point of view, I don't know what the legal recourse is there. I suspect that there isn't one. Because the ACCC hasn't... I did try to do some research on this. The ACCC hasn't really taken a firm stance on crowdfunding because it's not considered to be a store, so it's not really something that they've covered. So basically, our advice at this stage when it comes to Mythic Games, if you feel like you're comfortable giving more money to guarantee that you get your stuff, I would be very careful about making that decision. If you're not careful about it, then obviously don't do it. I mean, at this point, you've lost X amount of money, and there's no real guarantee that if you give them more, you're going to get more, or that you're going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is a really common thing that scammers do. Is like, we just need this extra bit to get, and they just take whatever they can until it all stops, and then they close down, and then it's done. I would be very, very, very careful.
So,
George,
and I've got two more.
You share? Oh, okay, yep.
I've got two more things, and then I'll be done. And we'll move on. So, one, I pulled up the Grim Dynasty pledge or the campaign. They raised £293,000. So we'll call
that's a huge difference. Yeah.
$330,000 ish, right? $400,000 ish, whatever. It's a large sum of money, but we're not talking about the multi-millions that Mythic has crowdfunded.
And it's at least 6.5 million?
That's something like that, yeah.
I'm trying to.
So
I don't remember the exact figure, but it was around there somewhere.
Oh yeah,
and that's just of the outstanding stuff. That doesn't include Super Fantasy Brawl or Reich
Darkest Dungeon,
or anything like that.
Yeah, for sure. So the next thing too, and this is the desperation of Mythic, right? With this, they need this 30%, right? So, and this is also like, where's the money at? Because they're allowing people to downgrade their pledges to not pay extra.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. So if you had like an all-in,
I'm not
you're
willing
now
to
being
give you
allowed
more money, but I will accept less stuff. To
Right.
help.
So that's still not solving the problem of they say they need this amount of money in order to get the game made, but they're allowing people to downgrade so that they have to make less. Like, it's something's still not adding up there. So those are my last two things. So you had something for me.
The downgrading, I can understand why the downgrading would help because it reduces their costs. And if they don't have enough funds, if people are downgrading, then they don't have to come up with those funds. But at the same time, if not everybody is downgrading the same stuff, they might still have to produce that, which still has a cost involved.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how.
Yeah,
It
there's
depends on what's been. It depends on what's been paid for and what hasn't. Because in theory, some of the production should have happened, like mold creation. You would hope has happened at this point, because there's no excuse for that not to have already been paid for.
From what I understand, yes, that has happened. What is actually needed is, here is $1,000. Make 100 copies of this game. That's what is needing to happen. Is they are needing the money to give to the manufacturer for them to make the game. Is what needs to happen right now. So that's where we're at.
The thing I was going to say, George, is there was a Discord community that you shared with us recently about those that are following the Mythic story and are coming from the legally. What are we allowed? Can you share that link again so that we can share it in the show notes? For those that are following, if they want to join in on that, it's not run by Mythic. This is a community organized thing. We will share it in the show notes.
Cream, glue, prime, paint.
Major Socks.
Yeah.
He's got nothing. He doesn't have anything. And you just promoted him.
I know.
I thought you.
Purpose.
So, Bruce, what have you been
Socks
working
is
on?
just frozen again.
His internet is not cooperating with him tonight,
which is going to make something later on really frustrating. Given that Socks has nothing that he wants to show off at all, and nothing that he's allowed to have because he's a bad boy,
and his internet's not working.
No, I know. This is so frustrating because I want to film this so I can put it up on the YouTube channel later. So, what were you trying to show us, Socks? Quick, before you start going weird again.
I have my 3-inch rifles that I'm working on.
Oh, nice. They are not 3 inches long. You're lying to us, Socks.
You're right. I know. But that's what they were used back then. So,
and that's the only thing you have, right? There's nothing else?
Oh, yeah. I have. So, you guys...
No, you don't have that. No, you don't have that. You're not allowed to have that.
No.
In this?
You already opened it? You not allowed.
Socks was sent this by us as a surprise.
Yes,
but because he
much.
went and picked up the package when he wasn't allowed to, we have told him that he's not allowed to keep it.
Hey guys, I didn't know it was coming. Please don't.
I'm editing that out of the show.
I was actually looking for
Patreon, you guys got to hear that joke.
Yeah. So I was actually expecting another package from Warlord Games for my Gettysburg stuff. And then I happened to see the box from Valhalla Hobby. I mean, we have a community mailbox, and so I had a little package parcel key, and I opened it, and lo and behold, there's a box from Valhalla Hobby with my wife's name on it. I'm like, I wonder what this is.
Yeah. So yes, we sent Socks some Dystopian Wars.
I appreciate it.
He was very surprised to get it because he totally didn't drop the hint that he wanted it at all.
No, not at all.
So now Socks. Here's the thing now that you have like something new, fancy, and cool and content wise, you have to do an unboxing video.
I will do one.
No, he doesn't. He actually doesn't. We already have an unboxing of that on the channel.
Of the starter?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
actually,
That's what Chris
so
let, that's
never
what
mind.
Chris let me
That's
unbox.
right.
Oh,
That's
right.
right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Remember when we talked about this a week and a half ago? I'm like, hey, we already have an unboxing of that. You can have a look to see what's in the box. This is what I work with, guys. This is how much support these guys give me. They don't appreciate any of the work I do at all.
I'm sorry, who are you?
Exactly.
Where do you live?
I have been painting some stuff. I have been painting terrain. These are
Nice.
my bright red shipping containers. These are the these are like the frozen aircon. I can't think what you actually call
Yeah.
them, but these are from Knights of Dice. These are the ones like refrigerated containers. That's the word I want. I really like these. These are really nice. Whatever the next one is that I buy, clearly they're going to have to be a different color because you can't have all shipping containers. Ooh. You can't have all shipping containers look the same. It's against the law.
Another thing is they're called reefer boxes.
We call them reefers here in the
Boxes?
States.
Reefer boxes, refrigerated boxes.
That's a new one. I've
Yeah,
never
we
heard
call
that
them reefers
term.
here in the States.
So I've been painting up some of my MDF terrain that's kind of been needing it for a while. Obviously, none of this is finished. Like, this is just spray painted last night. So all of this needs more work.
Did you get your prison painted?
No, that's in a box somewhere. It is built, but it's in a box somewhere. I'm concentrating on my modern stuff at the moment because that's what I want for Entropy City. That's where my attention is. So
Nice.
I also have two of these. These have roofs. I have not painted the roofs because I'm not going to be using them in the kit. So this is like a food stall. If I hold it the right way,
Yeah, I can
can
kind of see
see-
some of the stuff back there.
there's a cutting board and a knife there. There's
That's
another
not a
one back there
knife.
somewhere.
That's a knife.
These are actually from the Knights of Dice Easy District terrain, which is designed for Infinity. And if I turn this around, like, yes, this is very sci-fi. I have painted this brown to eventually become like a wood type thing. My intention is to do like brown and white to make parts of it look like plasterboard. And the other part of the kit, which is this, which is also supposed to be Infinity and very sci-fi, my plan is that, hey, look, this is actually modern day. The downside, of course,
Yeah, that'll
is
look
that
nice.
very much looks like a sci-fi ladder, but I
Yeah.
can work around that. Especially when, like, quite frankly, I have two of these and the other one's going to go on the back, so you'll never see this part of it at all anyway. This is very much a sci-fi kit, but I'm really happy about how easy it's been to convert it into something modern. I wasn't 100% sure if it was going to work or not.
But I'm really
happy
one of the
with
things. Like anything that could even some of the high gothic 40K ruins, like you could still use them for like a fairly even modern setting, just because it's a ruined out church, like that's still
pretty much
there's like a fine line cutoff, and I would say anything from like that even sort of has any sort of like Victorian steampunk resemblance could be used for anything modern forward.
Mm-hmm.
Like a Victorian steampunk, you could throw 40K down on that, and that would still look good. Your Wild West stuff, that's going to look good for Wild West. About it, not much else. Yeah, it could be like an abandoned town,
like middle of the country, ghost town type thing.
Yeah, like that's stretching it. High fantasy, guess what that's good for? High fantasy.
Yeah.
Infinity
You have a
stuff,
giant mushroom
40K
house, it's
stuff.
probably not going to look like it belongs in the real world.
No.
Yeah. No, I mean, but like any of the modern stuff, like is going to be your most versatile type terrain. So,
Yeah.
I think that'll look really good once you get that, worn down, detailed up, and put some bikes around it.
Well, see, that's the thing. I need to weather the absolute living hell out of this now. I have a couple of rust paints that I'm going to try. One of which is one of those very much reactive type ones, and there's another one where it's just like you stipple it on and it's got its texture and stuff. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the whole cheap craft paint, wash the ever living hell out of it, and then dry brush it back up again, and then I will weather it. I think that's my plan, at least initially, long term. These I will just wash the ever-living hell out of. But I'm going to wait till I have more of these in different colours, because I want to wash them. I want to weather them all at the same time so they look like they belong together. That's the plan.
If you have like some extra pieces, I just had an idea. This might work out for your shipping containers. Stick them in a bag with gravel and kind of shake it to give them the little dents. And then wash the hell of it and dry brush it, because that'll give you some dips. And
that's just going to expose the MDF.
Right, but dent it down so you have more texture surface and everything. So when you wash it and then dry brush over it, you'll have more to like pick up where it's like exposed metal and whatnot. That's just a thought I had. That if you have extra pieces or parts, whatnot, I'm not saying do it with one of your finished ones.
I think I would rather simulate it rather than actually dent the wood. Because MDF terrain has a couple of downsides. Like, it can be very strong, but if you do it the wrong way, it can be fragile sometimes too. Like, not PDF. PVA, like, it does hold it together, but it will also snap. Is the problem too.
Don't use PVA then.
PVA is more strong long term than super glue will be.
Wood glue.
Wood glue.
Wood glue is PVA.
No, it's not. No, wood glue. Wood glue. If you have proper joints with wood glue is stronger than wood when you're using it to bind wood together. So.
Yes, that is true. What I should have said is PVA is wood glue, not that wood glue is PVA. Because PVA is a simplified version of wood glue. It's not the same, but they are chemically related.
Yeah. No, I here in the States we have what's called Type Bond. I use Type Bond 3, which is like the waterproof and like the super strong glue. That's what I use on my MDF to glue it together instead of normal PVA. Just because I want that bond to not fail.
Yeah. But otherwise, George, have you got anything, or are we going straight into game talk?
I've been working on
news was really long.
Yeah. Just real quick, I've been working on the Custody some, and working on doing the masking, so that I've got one side that's not masked and the other side's masked. So that when I put the candy gold on, I could peel the masking off, and that's still going to be a nice chrome silver, while the rest of it's candy gold. So
nice.
Okay,
it's a very time consuming process. That paint on mask, you have to kind of gloop it on. So you have to gloop it on carefully, so you don't like put it where you don't want it, and then you have to wait for it forever to dry, because it's kind of thick and gloopy. So. But it does work great.
Kill you?
So what?
While the toxins kill you.
No, there's no off gassing on it really.
I thought you said it smells horrible.
No, it's the candy paint does, and the lacquer stuff. Yeah. So
fair enough.
That's about it. And then I've been working on setting up and doing a run through on Darwin's Journey. So, but that's about it for me.
Fair enough. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm very tempted to say, let's jump straight into the end and talk about our game talk next time.
That's probably okay, yeah.
stupidly long.
There was a lot of news to cover though too with what's happened. So squirrel. So we are going straight to
tournaments, demos, conventions, that kind of stuff.
All right. Next episode, we will touch on our Game Talk hobby, which was hobbying solo versus hobbying in a group, like the advantages of both. We're going to kind of have a little bit of a fun debate. If you want to add to that conversation between now and then, maybe send us an email or comment on the thing, and we might actually be able to include your thoughts in the actual conversation.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's a big thing where hobby is moving. So, but upcoming events, one near my neck of the woods, like literally Salt Lake Showdown, the 26th to 28th of May. It's a 300-point Infinity ITS tournament at the Hilton in Salt Lake City.
Yep. So this is from the 26th to the 28th of May. Salt Lake City.
I could drive there in a day.
We also have the Crow's Feast to Kings of War tournament on the 27th of May. I think this was on last fortnight's
yes,
as well. So this is a 3-round tournament, 2,200 points. It's $10 for members, $15 for non-members. This takes place at the Group North Historical Wargame Society in Adelaide, South Australia. Good to see some things actually happening in South Australia. We don't see a lot of events out there, at least not in my feed anyway. Operations ID Not Recognised is taking place on the 4th of June at the House of War in Ringwood. House of War is a huge venue. If you haven't been there, trust me, you're going to be in for a shock. We also have the ATC 2023 Championships. So this is specifically the Singapore Showdown, which is part of the Asian Team Championship. This is the 10th of June. The actual full event is taking place over like a 2-week period because this is their big tournament scene event. This one in particular is a 300-point Infinity ITS tournament. It's taking place at the Blitz Minis store. But there's other things as part of that event for Conquest. Hang on, let me bring the actual post up because it actually has a banner. So we have Team Yankee, A Song of Ice and Fire, Conquest I just mentioned, obviously Infinity we just mentioned. There's a Marvel Crisis Protocol as part of that as well. Like, this is the big event for the Asian part of the world. So if you are in that part of the world, you definitely want to be part of that if you're a competitive gamer, because this is your big premiere time of year. And then finally, PAX Australia is still coming up, 6th to the 8th of October. Still not 100% sure. I will be going, but I don't know what days I will be there at this stage. Because of the way things have been happening over here, I will not. Well, I missed out on the 3-day passes. I chose to miss out on it for the record because there's other things that's more important at the moment. We also have what I still think is the best named event I have ever seen, the Northern King Con, which is from the 24th to the 26th of November. This takes place in West Yorkshire. It's £55, which includes your lunch. It's a hot lunch on both Saturday and Sunday. George, do you want to do the keeping in touch things?
I'll read us out.
I don't know how much I trust Sox's internet to hold up.
Right. So, we love our Patreon supporters. We love our Patreon support. I'm going to have to go back through here real quick and do something. One of our big supporters is Valhalla Hobby. Use code GT2305 to get 5% off at checkout of orders over $100. Without their support, we don't do a lot of things. Without the support of the Patreons, we don't do a lot of things. So please become a Patreon, $2 a month at patreon.com/GameTabled. Our website is GameTabled.com. Most of the stuff, when we post it, you'll find it first at Facebook.com/GameTabled. The video version of this, you can find it at YouTube.com/GameTabled. Email us comments, questions, concerns, tournaments, anything you want us to talk about or want us to know about. Send it there at gettingtabled@gmail.com. Twitter and Instagram are at gettingtabled. And then Bruce has a Twitch TV/Jason the Bruce. You got a Zelda game or something like that, right? Zelda, is that the latest hotness?
Zelda on Friday night. Yep. I was also playing Star Citizen on there the week before.
Nice.
Yep.
So
I'm actually off work for the next couple of weeks. I probably will go live at some point during the week. I won't be doing it every day or anything because I am very much in repair mode at the moment. But I will be gaming online and trying to get people to hang out with me again. So if you can join in, it would be appreciated. Major Socks, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you guys. For
You've had your punishment. What is it called, Socks?
Drop Squad. Commander.
Very good. Very good. Louis, what's it called?
Oh, shots fired.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For listening to Getting Tabled. Music used in this podcast was created by Eric Matyas at soundimage.org.